Hi all, I'm Anshul Shah. I'm a PhD student at Johns Hopkins University. Today I'll be presenting our work on hallucinating latent positives for skeleton-based self-supervised learning of actions. Compared to RGB, skeletons convey an action succinctly and have been shown to reduce the impact of scene and object biases while having reduced privacy concerns. Since annotations are difficult and time-consuming, we focus on learning without labels. Diversity and quality of augmentations is critical for self-supervised learning, but crafting new augmentations for skeletons is a difficult task. In this paper, we ask the question whether we can hallucinate positives in the latent space. We define hallucinated hard positives as samples which lie far from an anchor positive but have the same semantics. We propose an objective function to capture this requirement and then derive relaxations which let us hallucinate positives in a computationally inexpensive way. We will now go into some details on the problem, motivation, and our proposed solution. Prior work in psychology has shown that humans can recognize actions from a sparse set of moving key points. Compared to RGB, skeletons convey an action succinctly and have been shown to reduce the impact of scene and object biases, while having reduced privacy concerns. Annotating video datasets is challenging and time-consuming. Following the success of image and video self-supervision, various papers have explored novel pretext tasks and training methodologies for learning skeleton encoders without labels. These are then adapted to various target datasets and downstream tasks. In this work, we use a contrastive learning objective for self-supervised learning. Most contrastive and non-contrastive learning approaches depend on well-crafted data augmentations. This is an active area of research, and the field of image representation learning has benefited the use of various data augmentations during training. Diversity and strength of augmentations is key to good learning. For example, SimClear showed how composing data augmentations like crop and resize, color distortions, and blurring is beneficial. Data augmentations require domain knowledge, and some simple approaches like cropping, resizing, flipping, and shear have been successfully used for augmenting skeletons. But crafting new augmentations for skeleton-based actions is more difficult, since they are much more information dense compared to images or videos. The augmentations must maintain both geometric integrity and action semantics. Various works have shown that using multiple views of the data beyond just the anchor and key helps in learning better features. But these approaches are more expensive to train due to the additional forward and backward passes through the model. To tackle the discussed challenges, in this work we hallucinate positives in the latent space. This has several advantages. First, this does not require handcrafting new augmentations. Diverse generation can happen on the fly, and generating multiple positives is easy and inexpensive. Our approach also allows for a control on the hardness and diversity of generated positives. Following prior works, we use a MoCo V2 style contrastive learning training. We start with an input skeleton, generate two views using standard skeleton data augmentations. The query and key are encoded using separate encoders. Query encoder is trained using backpropagation, while the key follows the query encoder using exponential moving average. The encoded keys are maintained in a queue, which allows for the use of large number of negatives for offering contrast. We want to generate positives of varying hardness which lie far from the original anchor, but still have the same underlying class semantics. In this work, we seek to explore the high-dimensional space around the anchors to find locations which can plausibly be reached by the encoder. We first cluster the negatives from the queue to obtain prototypes. We use k-means clustering on the hypersphere to ensure that the prototypes lie on the same manifold. We use key as our anchor to generate positives. We formally define our objective as follows. Here PZK is the prototype closest to the anchor, and script P is the set of all prototypes. Intuitively, we want to generate hard positives which are far from the anchor but have the same closest prototype. For example, consider the figure on right. Our constraint, which we call the rank filter, retains the highlighted positive in green, which has the same closest anchor as the prototype, but rejects the one in red, which is closer to P2. But unfortunately, solving this objective would require expensive iterative solvers. We desire quick solutions as such optimization needs to be done on each and every data sample. To address these issues, we proposed relaxations to our original objective. The first idea is to restrict the search space to that joining the anchor and a randomly chosen prototype. We define a geodesic joining the two on the hypersphere. Each point along the geodesic can be defined using spherical linear interpolation. The new objective function looks as follows. While the new objective restricts the search space, this still involves solving an optimization problem for each point. Next, we make another simplifying approximation. Instead of defining constraints for all prototypes, we just apply it to the closest and selected prototype. This simplification lets us derive closed-form solution to the objective for the hardest positive given the anchor and selected prototype. Finally, this is the bird's eye view of our approach. Once positives are generated, we pass them through the rank filter to account for potentially false positives due to relaxation 2. The HaLP loss enforces that the query should lie close to the generated positive. To allow for a control on hardness, we sample the parameter for interpolation between 0 and the optimal value. We use 3 datasets for our experiments, each of which consists of 3D skeleton sequences. We use a bi-GRU encoder following CMD. Unlike prior works, our approach does not require multiple modalities and can be applied to both unimodal and multimodal training. We perform our key experiments with unimodal training. We use a strong MoCo V2 based baseline for unimodal experiments. On linear evaluation, we observe that just including hallucinated positives consistently improves results on all datasets. On applying our loss in addition to CMD's multimodal loss further improves results. In fact, many of our single modality results are competitive to multimodal state-of-the-art baselines. Our approach consistently outperforms the baselines on transfer to PKU dataset and tuning-free KNN evaluation for both unimodal and multimodal training. Our proposed relaxations allow us to generate positives in the latent space very efficiently with minimal overheads. HaLP fares favorably compared to CMD's multimodal approach in both GPU memory and time per epoch. Our plug-and-play approach can be applied to other frameworks and tasks too. We experiment with graph representation learning and see that using our approach leads to improvements. We also add HaLP to AIM-CLR, which is another skeleton self-supervised learning approach, and see similar improvements. In conclusion, we present an approach to hallucinate positives in the latent space for self-supervised representation learning of skeleton sequences. Our approach offers a fast alternative to handcrafting new augmentations. We look forward to seeing you at the poster session.